Hey, we are on and hope you are doing good today. Hey, welcome. My name's Bo, and you are in the Morning TiVo with Bo O. Bo Willette's my name. So good to have you in the house. I'm a little late today. It is 9:11 right now. It just hit 9:12 on November 16th. We're going to be in Genesis chapter 16. Paula, so good seeing you in the house of Devo this morning. Jesus, so good seeing you as well. We hope the others join in too. They might have thought, hey, maybe Bo's not doing it today. It's not up at 8:55. Well, got in a little late today, and here we go. We're going to get into it. So you can always check out the archives at my YouTube channel, Bo Willette. I usually upload them pretty immediately, so they're available to anyone who wants to get in there and check them out. We've already gone through most of the New Testament. Now we're in the Old Testament, the book of Genesis, and we are in chapter 16. And here we go on the Devo. It says, "But Sarah and Abraham had no children." Now, this is an important statement because we've been told that Abraham is promised actually a son, some offspring, an heir to his inheritance. And it would come through this progeny that he would have with his wife. But until now, he has not had a child. And so he's wondering if his manservant Eliezer was going to receive everything that he owned, or how this was going to work out. And there's times in our life where we don't know what's going to happen and what's going to work out. And every day is really a risk in our lives, right? Every day is risk. Even when we just sit in a couch and do nothing, that is risk as well. Everything is risk. We don't know what's going to happen and how things are going to, in a sense, come to fruition. And God's got a plan in it all, and Abraham knows that, but he doesn't know how it's going to happen. And that's a lot of times how we are in our life, where we're not sure exactly how God's going to make it all work. But we've been given precious promises. And this is what the Bible says, is that we have these precious promises. Everything that pertains to godliness has been given to us, meaning we have the Word of God. We have the revelation of God's Son, Jesus, the Messiah. And we know so much, but we don't know all the particulars. And so much so we get that from this event here. So Sarah and Abram had no children, and Sarai looked to her maid, an Egyptian girl named Hagar. And he gave her to Abram to be his second wife. Now, this is really a radical, right? But very much like us, where we a lot of times take things into our own hands. God, help me this morning in this Devo to trust you with your plan and your promises. Help me not take things into my own fleshly nature and try to do things in my fleshly way. That ain't gonna happen, and it's not gonna work. And though I might try, it's never gonna work when I go into the flesh and do things with my own power, my own might, my own will. And here, what does Sarai do? She looks at the maid and says, "This is how it's gonna work out." Now, Abraham could have said no. Very much like the event of Adam and Eve, where we get the idea that Adam could have said, "Hey, no, I'm not going to partake of the fruit of the tree of good and evil." But he did. Here we see Sarai taking that step of Eve to go into this area of bending instead of walking in truth, walking in faith, bending and saying, "Hey, here's my maid. Why don't you have intimacy with the maid?" And the one that we got from Egypt, remember, we were down in Egypt. Well, we inherited things. We got things from Egypt, and one of them was this girl. And why don't you take her? And her name is Hagar. And why don't you have a family with this maid servant? And it would be like Of course, back in those days, it would be Sarai's children just bore from one of her maid servants. And Abraham says yes. I always got to look at something here in my own mind as a male, and that is I don't want to just push off responsibility. What is my responsibility? In for things that are going on in my culture. What is my responsibility as a person, as a human first, and then as a male? I can ask that too. Is what have I done? What do I do to contribute to the pitfalls, the things in my own culture? And those things can really bum me out at times. I could really look at my life and go, man, there's things that I do. And and the reason why I say that is because it's easy to look at this and go, oh, it's Sarai's issue. Why did she or she's the one who said to Abraham, hey, why don't you have the maid? That kind of thing. But Abraham could have said no. Um, he could have said no. And so sometimes in our culture, when we think of things like abortion, a lot of times it's always portrayed as a woman's issue, as a female issue, right? Kind of that kind of thing. This is my body, that kind of idea. My choice, my body, female. Well, where's the male? Where's the male? Right? It takes two to tango. And, it's a man's issue. See, a lot of times people think abortion is a female issue. Well, it's not a female issue alone. It's a human being issue, right? Yeah, that's right. It takes two. And here it takes two as well. And, and it takes two. And I always have to remember that there's things that I do in my part, that areas where I've stumbled as a human being and as a contributor of society. And I need to take responsibility for that and have an honest outlook of that. So here we see Abraham, listens to Sarai and says, "Oh, sure, that's what I'll do. Since the Lord had given me no children," Sarai said, "you may sleep with my servant girl, and the children shall be mine." And Abraham agreed. This took place 10 years after Abraham first arrived in the land of Canaan. So he slept with Hagar, and she conceived, and when she had realized she was pregnant, she became very proud and arrogant toward her mistress Sarai. Jealous, proud, all these things. Isn't this amazing how it works? Sometimes when you go the way of the flesh, what is the result of it? Oh, all this yuck, right? You make decisions apart from God. Instead of going God's way, we go the other way. And what does it produce? Self-righteousness, selfishness, right? Self-will. All these things that lead us into incredible problems and destructions of humans and society, where everything is about us. We start hating people. We become haters. We become selfish. We become super prideful, very arrogant, self-seeking, destroying, narcissistic to the core. Isn't this weird? She thought, oh yeah, Hagar will get pregnant. I'll have the children. And yay, God's plan will happen. This is how it's going to happen. And what does she do? Hagar gets pregnant and Sarai becomes bummed. She becomes angry. She becomes jealous. She becomes prideful, arrogant, right? Towards who? Towards Hagar. The person who she once probably thanked for giving her a child, there's this hatred in there. And that's how lust, like narcissism, lust works. When you desire something so bad, you end up hating the object of your lust. It becomes gross. People are like that, where they love money so much they get all the money in the world, and all of a sudden they become a hater of money, right? people want, to have intimacy with everybody. They do. They just sow their wild oats, and then they become what? Sick of all of their lust, right? People drink. They love to drink, so they drink all the time, and then what do they get sick of? They get sick of the alcohol, right? You get sick of the heroin. You get sick of the drugs, right? You've lust after them so much, and then you take so much of it that all of a sudden it becomes gross. You see its destruction, and it becomes yucky. And so here we see this horrible result. Whatever a person reaps, or whatever he sows, that he will reap. The Bible says, whatever a person sows into the ground, into the heart, that we will reap. So true. Then Sarai said to Abram, "It's all your fault, for now this servant girl of mine despises me." Isn't that sad? So Sarah now says to Abram, "It's all your fault." She becomes a blamer. First sign something's wrong with us. How do you talk? Do you blame? Do you complain? When you complain and blame, we got something going on in our hearts, right? There's not contentment going on. There's not a peace. And this happens a lot with young people. I see it not with just with young people, but I see it a lot with young people where they're always complaining, "Oh, this group isn't good for me," or "I don't like that," or "I think this is da da da," and "this isn't blah." And they always critique, yet they don't realize that their selfishness in complaining is what's got them into the place of being miserable at the beginning. They can't see it. They can't see that what they're doing is the exact same thing that has got them into their place of being miserable. So even though they say, "Hey, I'm miserable. My life stinks. I don't like everything. I hate my life. Everything," what they're doing is they're complaining, and they constantly complain about everything else. And they don't understand. They don't realize. They cannot see what's happening, that they are in a rut. They're blinded to their own selfishness. Instead of saying, "Hey, maybe I can go to that group and learn how to love people. Maybe I need to learn how to get out of myself and serve people." Instead, they just think of themselves constantly. "I don't like that. I didn't like this. This is where I'm at. I hate me. I hate you. I hate family. I hate this." Wow, right? So Sarai said to Abram, "It's all your fault," right? It's all your fault. Blame. Again, when you hear blame, something's up. "For now the servant girl of mine despises me, though I myself gave her the privilege of being your wife." Ooh, now you start seeing that, "Oh, I did this out of the kindness of my heart." Doesn't she see what I've done to help her in her life? Can you believe she does not respect me? She does not see. Can you see the manipulation going on here? Yeah. Why is Sarai so miserable? Well, now she's into hardcore, manipulation of things. She wants the pat on the back. She's not doing things for the glory of God. She's trying to get things done herself, for her self-glory. And so when human beings don't give her the glory she wants, she gets upset at them. But why would we ever think that human beings are able to give us things that we really want? Why are we so shocked that human beings will fail us, and they'll let us down, and they'll hurt our hearts? Or they maybe won't respect us correctly, or the way we think we should be respected. And remember, when we think we should be respected, we're probably seeing ourselves too highly than we ought to think of ourselves. So we're probably in a prideful situation. We think of ourselves as those that really got it all together, that we really deserve to be respected in amazing ways and treated with the utmost hospitality and respect. And this comes from a prideful, pompous, narcissistic, manipulative heart. not one that understands their place in God's kingdom. Because when you understand your place in God's kingdom, then, you're not so worried about the Rodney Dangerfield respect. I get no respect. Michael Rodriguez, hey, that was a great one. That's right. You guys who know Ronnie, you know that. That was classic. The old Rodney, yeah, that was hilarious. His old stuff's just absolutely classic. Anyway, on another side note, there's a lot of songs I think of respect. So many songs that have written Aretha Franklin. Just all kinds of songs come to my mind about that. But here you see her just going on in this, just just getting. She's just wound up. And it says, I myself gave her the privilege of being your wife. May the Lord judge you for doing this to me. Now you see it really, the resentment. I'm resenting you, Abraham. You're the one who did this. It's your fault. You're the one who did all this. If you didn't take her, then and have intimacy with her, then she wouldn't have got pregnant, and then this wouldn't have happened, and I wouldn't have felt the way I felt. See, you made me feel that way. Oh, there it is again. Manipulation. Yes, narcissism. Pride, right? You made me feel this way. You made me feel this way. Think of what's wrong with that statement. You made me feel this way. You guys thinking about it a little bit? You see something wrong with that? You made me feel this way. Your fault. You made me. How can someone outside of you make you, who's in you, feel this way? How can someone outside of you dictate everything you're feeling? It doesn't mean that what people do don't cause a reaction in our heart. That's true. But then for us to dwell on something and then not process it properly and then have something fester in us forever, that is on us. And when we allow resentment and bitterness and all those yucky things to stay within our minds and in our hearts and that complaining attitude, that's on us, right? Someone might hurt us deeply, and that's true. Someone might do something in their life to us that certainly has an effect emotionally in our minds and in our lives. That is absolutely true. Jesus was put on a cross by people. He was executed and viciously beat to the point of being beaten to death. And people certainly did things to him. And his heart certainly was broken within him for the atrocities his creation would do, that his creation would turn on him, the creator, like that. Yet his mind was on his Father. Yet his mind was on the stability of his Father. So much so that stability that he had, that he was able to actually, in his vulnerability of being hurt by people, physically and emotionally, spiritually, to be able to say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Amazing. What an amazing stability Jesus showed us. Yeah. And so we have to be careful when we say these things, when she says this, this is what you've done. I gave her the privilege of being my wife. May the Lord judge you for doing this to me. Your fault. You did this to me. Not taking personal responsibility at all. You have my permission to punish the girl as you see fit, Abraham replied. So Sarai beat her and she ran away. It accumulates with physical action. Everything in her heart comes out in what? Hatred. 1 minute she is so thankful for this young Egyptian woman And then the next minute, what is she doing? The next days down the road, she's beating her. Right? This is the horrible effect of what happens in our heart through selfishness and narcissism and hatred and bitterness and envy and strife and manipulation. All these things. Have you ever seen this happen where it finally comes to a place of boiling, where all of a sudden it turns into physical violence? Someone starts hitting someone. Someone's ready to kill someone. And all because of this awful decision to not listen to God, but just listen to yourself. See, what are we doing as human beings right now today? Everybody's listening to themselves. And all we have as humans, if we're just going to go off of listening to ourselves, then that's all we got, is our humanness. And the track record's not that good. We don't have a good track record that really makes a good point for us to literally trust ourselves. We don't do good. We are bad idols. We fall apart. We have something wrong in us. We are, in a sense, lost. We need saving. Michael says, can a dead man fight back? The answer is absolutely not. We are dead, in need of resurrection. Absolutely. We are responsible for how we handle situations. Paula says that's so true. So true. Sue, thanks for joining in. Sue says we are responsible for what we do with it. That's so true. So true. So I hope you guys see there's a lot of family dynamics when we say growing up that we were in a dysfunctional family. I think right now we're in the middle of some dysfunction, for sure. And then we have domestic violence. Oh man, nothing more freaky to me in my life, in my mind, than domestic violence. That is scary stuff, for sure. And this is where what it's happening. The angel of the Lord, and this is the first mention of the angel of the Lord, by the way, in the Bible. Very interesting person, the angel of the Lord. And this is Christophany, I think we call it, basically a picture of Christ, the pre-incarnate Jesus Christ, the angel of the Lord. There's many reasons why we believe that. I'm not going to get into that. You can always ask, though, my friends, on A Reason for Hope at 5 o'clock today on this Facebook channel if you have a question about the angel of the Lord and why we do believe that it is a appearance of the Messiah, if you will, the Son, before his incarnation through Mary. And so anyway, it says the angel of the Lord found her beside a desert spring along the road to Shur, and the desert spring along the road. So Hagar is gone. She has been cast out. And he says, where are you going? And Hagar says, I am running away from my mistress. And the angel says, return to your mistress and act as you should, for I will make you into a great nation. Ooh, a promise is given to her. We can endure a lot when we have a promise, can't we? We can endure a lot when we have a solid promise. When we're given a promise, hey, you know what? You're going to have eternal life. You know, let your heart not be troubled. I have overcome the world, Jesus says. You know, I have overcome the world. You know, when we have those promises that we will too, just as he has, then man, we can endure anything. Wow. And here the promise goes out to her. I will make you into a great nation. Yes, you are pregnant and your baby will be a son and you will name him God Hears, Ishmael. Because God has heard your woes. The son of yours will be a wild one, free and untamed as a wild ass. This guy's going to be like a hippie. Well, I don't know about a hippie, but it seems like he'll be pretty wild, pretty interesting, born to be wild, for sure. And here, Abraham's been given this promise that your descendants are going to be a great nation. Well, Hagar gets caught in the middle of family dysfunction, and she is in Dysfunctionville at the moment, and she gets this promise that, guess what, Hagar? Even though Sarah and Abraham, they're pretty messed up right now, guess what? You are going to have you're going to have a nation that's birthed through you. I mean, a whole nation, a great nation is going to come out of you. Ishmael. Yeah, God hears. Man, knowing God hears, that's a cool thing, just to know that God hears. He hears us. He hears what we go. He knows what we're going through. It says he will be against everyone, this Ishmael character. He will be against everyone, and everyone will feel the same towards him, but he will live near the rest of his kin. So this person is going to be close to the offspring of Abraham that is going to come, a guy named Isaac, a boy named Isaac. Ishmael is going to live near the descendants of his brother, his half-brother Isaac, but they are going to be at odds with one another. It said he will be against everyone. There will be kind of a warring between the descendants of Ishmael and the descendants of Isaac, this future son. I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but this future son of Abraham and Sarah. And so, wow, okay, is that what we see when we look at the Bible and we look at these things? Hey, it's a prophecy. Is that true? Absolutely. What do we see? Middle East chaos, descendants of Ishmael, descendants of Isaac going at it. Interesting. So it says, therefore Hagar spoke of Jehovah, of Yahweh. It is he who appeared to her as the God who looked upon me, the God who sees. For she thought, I saw God and lived to tell it. Isn't that interesting? She says, I saw God and lived to tell it. Who did she talk to? The angel of the Lord. Angel just means messenger. The messenger of the Lord. Very interesting who she ran into. And so we see that Hagar gets this amazing relationship time with the angel of the Lord, a special person for sure. And sometimes when you're down and out, you're the one who, has been treated wrongly. You're not maybe from the best background either. She's from the background of Egypt. She's probably been a little, has a little different moral system, maybe than, the norm. Who knows, right? But she's from Egypt. She's an outsider, and yet she is the one who is the first person to encounter this angel of the Lord. Don't you just love it? The person who sees the angel of the Lord isn't the mighty Abraham right off the bat. It isn't Noah right off the bat. Who is it? It is Hagar. Yeah, the Egyptian of all people, right? The Egyptian. Pretty radical grace, pretty radical mercy. Who is it? Is it a male that sees the angel of the Lord, this God in human flesh? No, it's a woman. That is who sees the angel of the Lord first. Isn't that amazing? This is written so long ago, and yet who is the one who is privileged to have this moment with the angel of the Lord? It is an Egyptian woman. God's grace abounds, and his word is amazingly just super active and so revolutionary in so many ways. God shows no partiality. That's what the Bible teaches. And we see this in these narratives. God ministers to Hagar. And so it says, later it was named the well of the living one, the one who sees me, and it lies between Kadesh and Bered, so that she's naming the place where she was at when this happened, again commemorating it, making a memorial, if you will, of this encounter with the angel of the Lord. And so Hagar gave Abraham a son, and Abraham named him Ishmael. Abraham was 86 years old at the time. Wow, very cool Devo. awesome. A lot of grace, a lot of mercy. We are outsiders. We are dead. We are ones that aren't part of the promise. We are absolutely lost under the chaos of the world, right? Held captive by all of the yuck of the bitterness and the narcissism and the manipulation, all of it that is around us, that exudes from us, that it comes at us from without and within. And we are attacked on all sides, and we are banished from even earthly families in a sense. We hate one another, we go to war with one another, there's such mistreatment, and yet we are the banished ones, and yet we are so lost, and God yet says, hey, I'm going to minister to you. I'm the God who sees, and I see what you're going through, and I'm going to meet you right there. And I'm going to do something in your life. I'm going to make you a great nation. Man, wow. Talk about a lot of hope from nothing. Very cool. Very much pictures, very much like the gospel of Jesus Christ, isn't it? Yeah. Sue says, I love when God does that. Absolutely. So true, right? So great chapter. Wonderful to think about. And remember that man, God's grace abounds. His love knows no bounds. You guys have a great day, okay? Take care. Bye-bye.